Hello, I'm Sunny Williams. I'm up here on the International Space Station. Now, I want to say where we are. So right now, we're in the Japanese laboratory. It's one laboratory out of many here on the International Space Station. It's actually on the left-hand side. If I was International Space Station and I was flying through space like this, my left hand would be where the Japanese laboratory is. So now again, we're on the right-hand side, all the way on the right of the International Space Station. This is Columbus, the European module. It has science experiments all over. You could see it looks a little bit crowded. And here we do a lot of our medical experiments. So this is Node 2. This is a really cool module. Of course, most of these modules you'll see they have 4 sides and they're put together. That way we could sort of work on a flat plane, either a wall, a floor, another wall, or the ceiling. But you know, again, all you have to do is turn yourself and your reference changes. The reason I'm bringing that up is because this is where 4 out of 6 of us sleep. And so people always ask about sleeping in space. Do you lie down? Are you in a bed? Not really, because it doesn't matter. You don't really have the sensation of lying down. You just sit in your sleeping bag. So here's one sleep station right here. I'm going in right now. You can follow me if you want. So I'm inside. It's sort of like a little phone booth, but it's pretty comfy. I've got a sleeping bag right here that we sleep in, so we don't have sort of like a little bit of a cover. We don't fly all over the place. But you know, you can sleep in any orientation. I have it feeling like I'm standing up right now, but like you saw, I'm on the floor. But it doesn't matter if I turn over and I sleep upside down. I don't have any sensation in my head that tells me that I'm upside down, so it really doesn't matter. The sleep station is also like a little office. We've got a computer in here. As you can see, we've got a couple little toys. I've got some books. I've got some clothes and other things that make it sort of like home. I'm coming out. And just for reference, that's one sleep station. This one's another. Right here. There's one on the ceiling, if you want to call it. Right here. And then there's a 4th on the other wall over here. So all of us sleep in a little bit of a circle. All right, come on back. There's more to show you. In the U.S. laboratory. Again, this is a laboratory with science experience on all of the walls here, all sorts of stuff that we do. And one of the things we also do is we exercise. We have some exercise equipment on board the space station. We need to do that because we lose bone density and muscle mass while we're up here, and that's a result of not having to fight against gravity. So how we keep ourselves in shape are with a bike, a treadmill, and a weightlifting machine. This is the bike. You notice the clip pedals. So all you need to do is actually clip your feet in, and then you can start pedaling. You don't need a seat because you don't sit down. Actually, I haven't sat down for 6 months now, so you don't need any type of seat. Just make sure you're held in with your pedals. You probably see that the bike bounces around a little bit. As I move it, it's not steady and held to the wall firmly. And the reason for that is the space station is pretty big. You saw that there's also solar arrays on the space station. If we start putting any forces into the space station, it's going to make those solar arrays bounce around a little bit. So to prevent that, the machines bounce around a little bit, move around a little bit, and that way we don't put any forces onto the structure of the spacecraft out to the solar arrays. All right, a little farther on. Come on. pretty cool place. This is sort of like in your house where everybody meets in the morning. After you wash your face, brush your teeth, you want to find something for breakfast. And this is our kitchen. You might notice there's all sorts of foods here. It's like opening the refrigerator. You got all your different stuff that you want to have: drinks, meats, eggs, vegetables, cereals, bread, snacks, and that's a good place. That's where you find all the candy. Side dishes, and then some little power bars just in case. So we have all this type of food. Some of it is dehydrated, and so we have to hydrate it, fill it up with water. Some of it is already made, and then all we have to do is heat it up. So something like this, I'm pulling out barbecued beef brisket. Pretty yummy. Not only is this food made in the U.S., but we also have food here from Japan. We've got Russian food. As you can see, all these red containers are filled with food that's from Russia. And then we get some of our specialty stuff, some things that we like, some of our favorite stuff that your family can send up. In fact, I like fluffernutters, and so I got sent up some fluff so I could make my fluffernutter with peanut butter. So you have a lot of food up here, no problems. I'm here with my two buddies in the airlock. Actually, these are two spacesuits that are ready, primed up to go outside, as we call it, to go do a spacewalk in case we have to do anything outside. Some of the things we do outside are just like inside, repairs. We have a lot of electrical boxes and machinery and solar arrays, in fact, that I talked about earlier, that are outside, and sometimes they don't work quite right. Remember, space is really cold and really hot, and it's also the vacuum of space with no pressure, and so some of the equipment doesn't work well all the time. So we might have to go out and do a spacewalk. Right behind me is actually the hatch that you go out into space, and right now we have it filled up with a couple other spacesuits because we've got 4 of them up here and some of our tools. But right behind here is the hatch in which you actually go right outside into the vacuum of space. The spacesuit is pretty big, as you can see. It's like being a football player. Part of the reason it's so big and bulky is because of this backside, this backpack. It's like going on a hike with a backpack, but the backpack and the suit weighs about 300 pounds. Luckily, in space, nothing really weighs anything, so you don't feel that it's so heavy. But we need to have such a big suit because that guy back there is essentially the heart of the spacecraft. I call this actually a spacecraft. It has all the oxygen for you. It has all the carbon dioxide removal system for you. It also has a heating and cooling system to make sure to regulate our body temperatures while we're outside. It also has a computer, so it tells you on a display here if there's anything that's going wrong with the suit, if we're running out of oxygen, if we have too much carbon dioxide, or any type of electrical problem. So it's a pretty awesome little spacecraft, and actually got to go out, use my little spacecraft a couple times, and it worked like a charm. Lucky that it works very nice. You might want to see what the helmet looks like. It's pretty cool too. We don't usually go out like this, so you usually can see when the helmet's open. So you can see what it looks like inside. Somebody's little head would be inside of here. So you can see, you can turn your head all the way around while you're inside of there, but the helmet stays still. So that's determines how far you could see. And it's usually pretty sunny out there, so we have to wear our sunglasses, and this is our sunglasses right here, which make you look pretty cool.
Thank you to NASA for that incredible video, and to Sunny Williams for giving us a tour of her temporary home at the International Space Station. That video is footage from 2012 when Sunita Williams was the captain of the International Space Station. She'll be joining us shortly. Just make a few announcements before we start. This interaction is brought to you by the Embassy of India Student Hub. The Student Hub is a collaboration between the Embassy of India in Washington, D.C. and Indian students. Our mission is to support Indian students studying in the United States and to encourage them to be leaders of tomorrow. A special thank you to NASA and NASA astronauts for making this interaction possible, and to ask all of you to tune in to NASA as NASA and SpaceX are gearing up for an exciting human spaceflight sometime later this month. We're excited to have you join us, and thank you for all the questions that you submitted in advance. Today's conversation will begin in just a few minutes with introductions and opening remarks from Captain Sunita Williams. We're now live from Boston, Washington, D.C., and Houston. It's 12 noon, a little bit past 12 noon Houston time, almost 10:45 p.m. in India, 5:15 p.m. Zulu time, which is the time at the International Space Station. With us, we're excited to have Captain Sunita Williams. She has been an astronaut, a NASA astronaut since 1998, with 2 tours in space, including one as the commander of the International Space Station. Sunita, or Sunny, as NASA affectionately calls her, is training for another space flight in 2021. Sunita is an icon and superhero for many. She is highly decorated as a captain in the U.S. Navy, Humanitarian Service Medal, NASA Space Flight Medal, a Padma Bhushan awardee, and has an elementary school named after her in Massachusetts. With her paternal roots in Gujarat and maternal roots in Slovenia, Sunny is in many ways a world citizen. Along with Sunny, we have Rohan, Roger, and Cherry Singh, 2 student leaders who will be leading the interaction. Rohan has an interdisciplinary degree in applied physics, math, and management, and he's a founding member of the India Student Hub, focusing largely on innovation and gearing up for a STEM summit here in June of this year. Cherry Singh is an aerospace engineer. She has a master's in international affairs with a concentration in gender and development. She's graduating in just a few weeks. She's focused on the inner and outer journey at the India Student Hub, and Cherry is a self-professed Sunita Williams fangirl. Students around the world have joined us today on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Sunita, welcome, and thank you for joining us. We'd love to invite you to start with a few comments of your own.
Hi, Rupal, Rohan, and Sherry, and everybody out there. Thank you so much for this invitation. The Indian Student Hub is an amazing program. I just heard about it not too long ago, and just happy to be here with everybody. I think we're all in this little strange time of having to figure out how to communicate and how to talk to everybody from our own homes, which is a little strange. So welcome to my kitchen, by the way. Glad you're all here. I think we're all having to deal with, not being able to get our hair cut. So it's making life a little bit funny, but also a little hard, but a little bit funny. I'll put it that way. And so we're all in this together. And I know a lot of you are here in the United States and your families are all over the world in India or other countries around. We're talking about this, and it's sort of the same as being on the International Space Station. So you're all taking a little trip on what it would be like to be in space in a spacecraft where you don't get to go see your family and friends and give them a real hug. You can only give them a virtual hug, and you have to figure out other ways to say, I love you and I miss you. Like maybe just say it and use a video conference, right? But isolation also it provides a time to reflect and think about what really makes you tick and how you can be a productive, active positive addition to society. You know, when we're up on the International Space Station and we're floating around, it's not like I can affect, you know, like go grocery shopping for my parents or help my husband with some project he's working on. But I can also, at the same time, encourage them, help them, talk to them, be in touch with them. And I think that's really important. And just sharing your experiences and sharing what you're going through with people that you feel like you're connected to. Another thing is, of course, is taking care of yourself in these situations. Up on the space station, you know, you're by yourself, but you want to make sure that you're a productive member of the team. So to be part of the team, first and foremost, you have to be okay and fine. So one of the things that we do up there, of course, is work out and exercise. It's you know, on the space station anyway, because we lose a little bone density, we lose some muscle mass, because you don't need to have all that bone density and modulate that by getting on a bicycle and working hard to keep your heart muscle in shape. We get on a treadmill, and that stimulates us walking. And so that way it stimulates all the bones all the way from your ankles, all the way up through your pelvis and your spine, your back, which is really important. And then we have a weightlifting machine, which also helps with that bone density and muscle mass. And we use vacuum to be able to put almost 600 pounds on a lifting bar so we could do some exercises. So that's really important. One of the things I found here is going out for a walk. You know, I have a dog, so I take my dog for a walk or a run every morning. And there's a lot of kids in my neighborhood. We stay 6 feet apart, social distancing, but we get out somewhere around lunchtime just to get everybody out of the house and do a little exercise together. You know, some jumping jacks, some push-ups, some sit-ups, maybe run down to the end of the road and back, just to, you know, keep everybody mentally sharp as well as physically sharp. I think these are really now just to make sure you're okay. Another fun thing, by the way, is food, right? You know, like a lot of us end up, maybe we're real in a hurry and we make something very fast because our life is going so fast. But in space, I thought it was really fun to actually combine foods. Like you could just open a packet of food. We have all sorts of stuff up in space, you know, like we have, you know, sweet and sour tofu, you know, barbecue brisket, because we're from Texas. I had samosas up there also. But what sometimes it's fun is to actually try to combine those things. You know, you have a plate and you have everything around the plate, and you can easily, you know, combine the hot food with the rice and maybe some, you know, some raita or whatever with it to cool it down. In space, it's a little more difficult because everything is in a separate package. And so this was actually a little bit of a trick, but a lot of fun. And so trying to eat those things together took a little time, a little thought process of how you're going to combine foods. One of the things they have up there is some baked cheese, and they also have dehydrated strawberries. And my mother used to always make cheesecake. So I started to rehydrate the strawberries early in the morning. We'd get the baked cheesecake and make sure that was heated up after dinner, and was able to eat the strawberries and the little cheese. And it just reminded me, brought back memories of being home with my parents and eating my mother's good cheesecake. And I didn't really have anything to compare to, so it was essentially as good as my mom's cheesecake. My husband actually is in a different state than me during this time frame, and he's making me laugh because he keeps making new things. I never knew he was such a good cook. His house, which is like all of this dilemma. Another thing that I did while I was up in space is once of maybe some really amazing places we flew over, or you know, some experiment my crewmate Aki Hoshidi was doing, or maybe what Yuri Malenchenko was doing down in the Russian side of the space station, just something interesting, and ask them to take a picture of me now and then of something that I was doing that was unique and interesting for that week. And then I would put those pictures in a journal, and I have this really great memory of my whole time in space, week by week, of what happened, because I a couple hours and edited what those pictures said and wrote a journal. And it's a different time, a different place, just like it is right now. And we really hope this doesn't happen again, and we won't be like this forever. So in this time frame, it might allow you to really reflect on how you feel, and then maybe a year from now take a look at it, and you might be surprised at some of the creative thoughts that you had while you had this moment to sort of slow down and not really think about work, not really think about school, and just reflect on how you're feeling and what you're thinking about. But I'm going to go back one more time. Stay in touch. This is awesome. I feel so good about being able to talk to you guys. I feel so happy that I'll be able to maybe answer some questions and talk to you about what you're going through, and what it's like to live in space, and what it's like to even work in the space program. We've had a lot of really exciting things going on. As Rupa mentioned, we have SpaceX launch hopefully by the end of this month, with the first two people launching from America since 2011. So this is going to be really exciting. Just on Thursday, yesterday, they announced the 3 companies that will be building a lunar lander for our Artemis program, which is really awesome. It's a real true step forward. We're in the process of building the planetary suit that will allow the next man and the first woman to walk on the moon, hopefully by 2024. I'm getting ready to fly on the Starliner spacecraft next year in 2021, probably. So it's a really exciting time in the space business, but we can't lose sight of wanting to make sure that we're doing all of this for the right reasons. We're doing all of this to help humanity, to help us figure out how we, as a human species, can live better, and how we're trying to help out during this COVID-19 event. A lot of our centers, 3 of our centers, volunteer that I can think of right off the top of my head are doing projects to help with COVID-19. And our organization had asked, queried the whole organization, does anybody have any good ideas? Because of course, just like you guys, we are engineers, scientists, people with really creative ideas who could come up with ideas that could help all of us during this time frame. So it goes back to you. Take care of yourself. And then it goes back to the bigger team that we're all part of, the human species, how to help each other get along better and live better on this planet. So Rupa and Cherry and Rohan, again, thank you so much for the invitation to talk and share a couple things. So I'd be happy to talk to the students, answer questions, and answer any questions you have.
Hi, honey. Hi, Sunny. Thank you so much for sharing and for making the time to speak with the international students. Before we went live, we actually got a tour of your house, the International Space Station, and it is really cool. We just talked about all your daily routines and the variety of tasks that you do in space. But how did your family cope with not having you around?
So that's a very good question about the people on Earth. How did they cope with without having me around? I think maybe they were relieved. At times, I could be a little bit of a little slave driver about, like, let's get this done, let's get that done. So I think they were, and I like to work out. So my husband was happy that I was gone and I could work out with my friends and not drag him into my workouts. But seriously, it's tough. It's on a rocket. I didn't realize it too much until I went to a launch and saw my friends, people I worked with in the office, launching, and I was like, wow, fingers crossed, hoping everything's going to work out okay, and then knowing they're up in space, hoping everything up there will be okay, and when they do spacewalks, hoping they're going to be fine. So it is tough, and it weighs on the back of your mind. And I didn't realize that, like I said, until I saw some of my other colleagues launch. So I knew that it was going to be tough for my husband. It was going to be tough for my family. But they did very well. And part of the way that I knew that they were fine was being able to connect with them. Just like I mentioned, being able to do this, make a phone call at least once a week, if not, a couple times when you can't see people every day, just to hear their voice, not to have a long conversation, but just to say, hey, did you have a good day? What are you doing today? Did you, what did you have for lunch? Anything good? Should I, anything I could make? Can you share a recipe? Everybody likes to, food is common, right? So everybody likes to talk about food. So those things are, I think, really important. And also, of course, I really missed my dog while I was in orbit. And my parents were super nice and my sister, about taking pictures of him doing funny things, this crazy little things, nothing too serious, but, digging a hole in the sand or whatever. And, or just barking obsessively, at something, and then sent it up to me. So that's another fun thing to do. And just pictures of what you're doing. Everybody likes to take the selfie nowadays. And why do we take the selfie? Is so other people can see it. So take the selfie of you doing something fun, you looking good, and send it to your family and friends, and it will make them, think of you and think of good times they've had with you.
That's pretty cool, Sunny. Thank you. I can completely relate to what you said about being away from animals. I feel like each time I go on WhatsApp with my family, I usually ask them to get my dog on, because that's the only time I can actually interact with him. Even though he doesn't know where I am, he runs to the door. So in previous interviews, you've talked about how looking at the Earth makes borders feel insignificant. And you just talked about taking pictures in orbit of things that you found were interesting and unique. So do you think, reflecting on the current pandemic crisis, that this is in some ways going to make us more global minded and compassionate as humanity, particularly in that context of how you felt like when you were isolated in space yet connected with your loved ones here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we have seen that this pandemic doesn't know borders. Granted, we could try to, contain the COVID-19 by closing borders. It is a method, but the virus itself knows no borders. Our Earth really is totally connected. Regardless whether or not people travel from place to place or cannot travel from place to place. Everything else is connected. I mean, I saw it even, not even so much as land and borders of countries, but as in the atmosphere that we live in. It's a global atmosphere. When something happens in one part of the country or one part of the world, it's affecting it someplace else. One of the really obvious and actually very cool examples of environment like that, if you think about it, is lightning and thunderstorms. When you see, a lightning happen at one part of the world, somewhere else it happens as a reaction, back and forth. And it really reminds you, like, wow, like it's all connected. The atmosphere around us is connected. There's no saying, oh, this is just the air over the United States, or this is just the ocean that touches, the coast, the East Coast. That water, goes all over the world. That air goes all over the world. Animals, insects really go all over the world. We do too. We've figured out how to do it too. And maybe we've closed it down a little bit for now, but our whole environment is connected, and it affects how we live and how we work. And so, it's sort of, I think, arrogant to think as human beings that we are just this one in this little pocket and nothing's going to affect us. We actually, everything we do affects everybody on this country, in this world. And so you need to remember that we are all connected, one way or the other. And I think the pandemic, for one good thing, it, even to the, casual observer, has to realize that it's all connected. And maybe we think about life a little bit differently and try to treat each other a little better, with a little more respect and understanding. Language, of course, sometimes gets in the way, but we have ways around that with people who speak multiple languages that could help translate and transpire that boundary. But we are all connected.
No, that's pretty good. That's beautiful, actually. And you're very right. A part of this pandemic is also how a lot of people are feeling. As you said, they're unable to travel. So in some ways, they feel that they're uncharted waters and particularly facing some difficult decisions. So as an astronaut, of course, you've had to make decisions in situations where there's little to no room for failure. So could you recall one of those times where you could not see a clear way out and had to make a call in the midst of a lot of uncertainty?
Wow. That's an interesting question. I think the most obvious to me was, I'll tell you something complicated one, and then I'll bring it back to a very simple one. So when we were out on a spacewalk and we were replacing a big circuit breaker box, we encountered some problems doing this with the bolt that we were working with. The spacewalk ended up being a little bit over 8 hours. I usually there about 6 hours, and I knew that I had a mark in my on my day that I wanted to take a look and take a picture of a hurricane and when I got back in, because it was like an hour after we were supposed to, our planned time to come back into the space station. And when I realized that we were still working and we flew over the hurricane when we were still outside, that's an hour more than I had anticipated, at least. And I was like, wow, this is a little bit of a long spacewalk. I was concerned that I was going to be okay and not too tired. I was concerned that my crewmate Aki was going to be okay as well. And so you have to start weighing the consequences and the pros and cons of what you're doing. Like, do we stay here forever and fix this box? And this is the last thing we're going to, we have to do this before we come in, or do we just have to say, swallow a little pride to reassess? We need to take a step back and think about what we're doing, go back inside, get a hot meal, take a wipe down shower as best as possible, come back tomorrow, talk with mission control, and go out and charge this hill the next day. And I think that's sort of what we're doing right now. It's like we have so many things and they seem like they have to be done right now. And, if we don't do it today, it's one thing. But it's okay, take a step back, think about, okay, if we don't do this today, what can we do tomorrow? And make a plan for later on. A real simple example was I was working on some exercise equipment. It was the end of the day and we were replacing a part of it. And I mentioned already exercise equipment and how important it was, how it is, and it's shared equipment by everyone. And if you break one of those pieces of equipment, then you're jeopardizing the health of your crewmates. So as one bolt was not big, but I just couldn't get it back into the right slot. Again, another bolt. Maybe I have issues with bolts, but and it was just not working. And I thought to myself, okay, it's the end of the day. Nobody's going to work out tonight. We're going to put this away tonight, and tomorrow morning we're going to try it again. And mission control, although they are usually very supportive, they were supportive. They were sort of like, "Are you sure you don't want to just continue and fix that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't, because I'm afraid that I'm going to break something. And rather than push it when I'm tired and I'm feeling rushed, just forget it." I said, "You know what? Let me get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow morning I'll have breakfast. I'll wake up, I'll be in a good frame of mind, and let me go at it tomorrow, first thing, and nobody will have lost any workout time." And it worked like a charm the second day. And I think about that in my daily life here. There's always a rush. There's always like, oh, try to get this one last thing in. But actually, this is a time frame in our lives that maybe we don't do that. We take a step back, we reassess, make a plan, make a phone call, and actually when you're really tired, take a nap or go for a walk, and I'm sure your brain will be a little bit clearer, your muscles will be a little bit rejuvenated, and you might be able to redo that task flawlessly the next time you take it on.
That is an incredible experience. And I think I'm going to do that in my everyday life as well. If I feel stressful, I know I got to take a nap. I was talking to my mom yesterday, and she reminded me that one of the reasons I took up aerospace engineering was because of you. So I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about women in STEM. You have mentioned in one of your other you have mentioned in one of your other interviews that your path to become an astronaut was not linear, as your resume shows. So what made these opportunities, what made you pursue these opportunities in space and science? What hurdles did you face, and how do those hurdles differ from the hurdles you are facing right now?
Oh, great question. You know, I did not have this idea when I was a young kid, and I think it's okay for, you know, kids out there, high school, college kids, not to know exactly your path. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. That's my first thing I have to say, because, you know, life is different for everybody, and you want to try different things. How do you know when you're in high school? How do you know when you're in college what all the opportunities are out there, or things that you could try? How do you know? I mean, we think we expect too much from kids who are, you know, in 15 to 25. Let them experiment with life and challenges and see what makes them tick. I think that's really important. So, you know, of course, I ran into challenges when I was in high school. I did really well. And I went to the Naval Academy. This was not the university I thought I wanted to go to. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian because I love animals, and my dad was a doctor. But I ended up getting into the Navy, into the military, and I thought, wow, this is something that I really enjoy. There's some structure, there's teamwork, there's leadership, there's followership. You know, I was a student athlete. I was a swimmer also, so I was already focused down that type of path. But I didn't realize that I would have there was an occupation out there that was similar to that. So it really was a blessing. But it was a surprise. I will also say that it was totally a surprise. Like, wow, this is good. And same thing with flying helicopters and airplanes. It was a surprise. I'd never done that before. So hey, why not try it? There was billets open. I have 20/20 vision, which was required at the time. So try it out, see how I did. And if I didn't do okay, you know, that would be fine too. There would be other things that I could pursue. I could have been potentially driving ships. I could have been a diver. You know, there's many other things I could have done. And so I'm not going to say that I didn't feel, because I think everybody feels this way, that if your first path doesn't go right, you sort of feel like a failure. That's going to happen along the way. You're going to have that gut feeling like, oh, you know, I'm not good at this. But, you know, I think the best part of that feeling is pushing through it and going to find the next thing that you are going to be good at. You're going to be good at something, and you maybe just have to find it. And then you're going to find what you love, first of all. And then if you find something you love, you're going to do it well. So, you know, those were my key things that I realized as I look back at my age in my late teens, early 20s. I wish I had known that it was okay, because I sort of had that feeling. But I think also that feeling of not doing as well as you thought you were going to do can push you harder. It could either stop you or it could push you harder. And for me, it pushed me a little bit harder. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to find out what I didn't do well at, and I'm going to keep going. And that's same as today. You know, honestly, there's things in my job that I'm really good at, and I could recognize that's okay. I think you know, most people are like that. Not everybody is good at every single little thing out there. I think I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
Cherry's graduating in May, and I was wondering if you just it seems like you already did, but if you wanted to add any other sort of words for the graduating class of 2020. And if you wouldn't mind, also a special story or two for the 7- and 8-year-old aspiring astronauts like Jaya at Sunita Williams Elementary School. So we could have you comment on both before we end. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the graduating class of 2020, this is pretty special year. I mean, think of it that way, right? It's sort of I was talking to my niece and my nephew, and I could see that there's a little aggravation going on. And I said, what you probably miss is just hanging out with your friends. And they both said, yeah, I guess I do. They didn't even realize, but they just missed that. And I know your graduating classes, everything probably was just stopped. Like all of a sudden just stopped, and you didn't really probably had a chance to finish a project or finish something that you were working on, or go see that one movie that you wanted to see with your friend, or go to that one restaurant you wanted to go to that you've been talking about and you made a plan for, and boom, everything just stopped. And I think that's really hard to internalize. Like, I didn't get to finish that. But what it also does is makes this class of graduation stronger. You guys know how to push through that. Like I talked about pushing through. You guys know how to do that. You guys know how to reconnect with each other. You guys actually know how to really sort through what's really important and finish up this year. Know that you are finishing all your classwork. Maybe not the little pretty flowers around the edges, but you're finishing the core classwork that allows you to get out there and be a productive member of society. It's probably also compelling you to think about the world as a bigger team. Like, how can we contribute, right? And even just staying home and being responsible and not infecting other people or getting infected yourself. That's part of something much bigger than yourselves that other classes haven't had the opportunity to do. Maybe, they were very self-centered and got to, throw their cap up and walk down the aisle. But you guys are a little bit more mature as a result of all of this, and you'll be better citizens for the world. So we appreciate you. Absolutely deserving of graduating this year. So congratulations. Woohoo!
Thank you.
And for the 8-year-olds going into the unknown.
To those kids out there who are thinking about being an astronaut or thinking about going into STEM, oh my God, this is like the most great time. I told you in the beginning of this conversation about all the programs that we're working on. I mean, I wish I was 20, maybe 30 years younger. Now I'm telling you my age, but I wish I was a lot younger. So I had the opportunity to be part of really the Moon Project, be part of the crew that was going to go to Mars. That's what you guys are going to do. We've laid the groundwork. We're figuring out with technology advances and manufacturing advances. We are on that edge. We're on that cutting edge. We're on that next big leap to get us back to the moon safely, sustainably, to be actually build a space station there, orbiting the moon right as a jumping off platform to go further on. This is for you. So if you're interested in it, just research it. Come down eventually when everything is free for traveling. Come down to Kennedy Space Center, watch a launch. Come to Johnson Space Center, see how we train, see how mission control works. I mean, this is human space flight is spectacular. Robotic space flight is spectacular. We're still launching spacecraft, to go to Mars to find the landing spot that we're going to eventually go to. There's so much cool stuff. So be part of it. I know it's hard to be in your house, but there's so much to look up and be part of. Watch these things live, on the internet. It's amazing. It's just simply amazing.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. It's been an honor and a pleasure for, I know, Rohan, Cherry, and I, and all of the students who get a chance to hear you today. We hope we get another chance to interact with you sometime after this pandemic, because you are a continued inspiration. So, and you're going to help us launch a series of other people who have similar sort of stories of resilience. We're hoping to call it Ruminations. So thank you so very much. We wish you the best in your training, your family, and in your health with this pandemic.
Oh, my pleasure. It was great to talk to the Indian Student Hub, and thanks to the Indian Embassy for arranging all this and getting Rohan and Sherry and yourself, Rupal, all hooked up with this with me. It was just rewarding and wonderful.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much,
Thanks so much,
Sunny.
Sunny.
Bye.
Bye. Good luck. Bye.
Great. Thank you to all our viewers for joining us today. We hope this was as fun for you as it was for us. Follow at NASA Astronauts to learn more about astronauts. Follow ISHUB-US or visit us online for the India Student Hub. And for the latest on the Embassy of India Student Hub response to the COVID pandemic, please see our website at ishubus.com/COVID-19. To our students, good luck with your exams and your papers. To our graduates, congratulations. To all the aspiring astronauts, shoot for the stars. Stay well, stay put.